And welcome back. We're joined live in the studio by Councillor Mike Johnson, who's the incumbent candidate for the Fortuna City Council election next week. Mike, really nice to meet you. Thanks for coming to Redwood News.
Nice to meet you, John. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Now, you've been on the council for 4 years, but I'm sure you have a lot of other relevant experience that you bring to the council.
I do. I worked for the city for 25 years prior to retiring in 2018. The last 10 years as a public works superintendent. During that time, I spent a lot of time interacting with the council with grants, projects, things like that, nuisance abatements. So I have some experience in that area, plus most of all setting budgets for up to 5 different departments. So I bring that experience and respect for the people that are in the job now.
Now, what are the biggest issues that you believe Fortuna citizens are facing?
Well, right now, I'd say it's probably the power issue. Without that, we can't grow. Can't add housing. We can't meet the climate action plan goals that the state would like us to meet. The county has a climate action plan that we're a part of, all ready to go, and it's on hold right now because we can't fulfill that. So the power issue is number one, which also affects what I see as the number 2, which is the economic growth. We can't grow and can't do economic development. We can't add housing, as I said before. But with the economic development is income base for the city, and without being able to add to that, it will eventually grow stagnant, especially in this inflationary period that we're in right now. Well, we set a budget for gasoline that was not $6.50 a gallon.
Now, apart from those, I mean, there's obviously very important other priorities that you want to see focused on in your next council session.
Well, I have some things that I'm partial to. When I was still an employee instead of on council, I wanted to see some of our city buildings had solar brought into them. I'd like to see a way that we can bring back some of the things we had before, where we could help businesses downtown with facade improvement grants and such as that. So those are 2 things I see as important. The solar thing, I've actually added solar to my house and have seen a savings in there, and see what the city can do also on that end, plus do our part for the climate plan.
Now, part of being a council member is obviously working collaboratively with your fellow councillors. How will you reach agreement when perhaps you don't agree at all?
We talk through it, and there's a give and take process. And a lot of the people that are on the council I've known for a while, so I can speak candidly with them, and we can work together, because all of us, our goal is not our own personal agenda, but what's good for the city. That's one thing I can say about everyone on our council.
Now, you've already mentioned that you're retired, but obviously the pay structure for councillors does make it kind of a part-time role. How do you balance everything else in your life with being a councillor?
I do a lot of reading in the evening. When we do our council meetings, we get our packet ahead of time so we can study and be prepared when we actually go into the council meeting. And so that does take, at budget time, it may take 3 days to read through everything. Some are not that thick, but at budget time, that works that way.
Now, we have about a minute left, Mike, so if anything, what would you like to share about your personal background? I think you've covered some of this already, but your interests as well, that you think voters should know about you to help them make up their minds.
Well, besides working and knowing most of the council members, I also have worked with businesses downtown, with the social club, the Rotary Club, Kiwanis. I've done projects with them. I count some of the business owners as my friends. I live in Fortuna. My granddaughters live in Fortuna with my daughter. I'm invested in the community, part of the rodeo and auto expo committees. So I want to see Fortuna grow and thrive.
Well, Mike, that's been great. Thank you so much for joining us at Redwood News. We're out of time. We always run out of time, and 5 minutes goes absolutely nowhere. But thank you very much for joining us on Redwood News.
Again, thank you for the opportunity.
It's a real pleasure. And we'll be right back after this short break.